Saturday night was a story of redemption. A story of redemption. And Sergey KOVALEV, or as you say, KOVALEV, redeemed himself in a big way on Saturday night as he won his rematch against ELEIDER Alvarez. This has got to be one of the feel-good stories of the past, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years. What happened Saturday night, this is what boxing is about. Not protecting an undefeated record. No. This is the true Rocky story. A story of being a winner. A story of sinking to the bottom. And a story of a triumphant comeback. When the world over figured you were going to suffer another knockout. Main events and whoever else, Team Kovalev, Team Kovalev, however you want to say it, they should be proud of their guy. And I emailed Kathy Duva to let her know just that, to enjoy the spoils of victory. Nobody, and I mean nobody, thought this would happen. Nobody except thefightjournal.com. Did you go to thefightjournal.com's website and see the prediction? Most, if not all of you, will say no. We don't always do predictions on video, you know. We often, more over the past few years than as of late, but we do predictions. Usually me and my colleague Rob Uzel, sometimes a couple of other people who do a little with us, and we'll type up the predictions and put them out there. In this case, you can go to, if you go to the website, I think it was the video from January 26th or 28th or whenever Keith Thurman fought. You go to that video, but not on YouTube, but on the website, and in the body of that video where Keith Thurman Jr. won, what was that, last weekend, read my note. Just read it. Well, I'll read it to you if you don't care to look. And editor's note, for the record, I think Sergey KOVALEV shocks the world next week and boxes his way to a split or majority decision. So I was wrong on that part, because he won a wide decision, 16-12 twice, and what was it, 119-108 or something like that, which sound more like it. I'm not sure what 4 rounds you could give ELEIDER Alvarez. But anyway, it says Kovalev shocks the world next week and boxes his way to a split or majority decision. Call me crazy, but I think he gets redemption and then goes after the other champions instead of a trilogy, which I still believe will happen, but we'll talk about that in a minute. If it holds true, it'll also be redemption, or should I say resurrection, for one James Buddy McGirt. Buddy needs a big win here, badly. Here's his shot. And then I added a little footnote, just to take a shot at a reptile out there. By the way, McGirt is a trainer who happens to be black. I say that because Sergey has been accused of being a racist. Yet, he's had 2 trainers with black genes. The other being that snake, John David Jackson. Go figure. So, anyway, listen, when we get them right, we'll gloat a little bit. And when we're wrong, well, we'll look for excuses why, for sure. But there's always that explanation piece on why you got something wrong. But anyway, I truly hope the future journalists or videographers or whatever they call themselves understand this is how boxing got to be the great sport it was of yesteryear. I have so much respect for a champion who wins a title legitimately without an O, without a 0 on his record, than one who came up the easy way. They get gifted a strap around their waist and they don't have to deal with adversity. Or, even worse, does the aforementioned, comes up easy, gets the gift, doesn't deal with the adversity, and then when they finally lose and get exposed for the fraud they were by never coming close again to winning, you could think of Adrian Broner, who, when he won his titles at the lower weight classes, the man was 20 pounds bigger than those guys. So, in other words, it wasn't a different Adrian Broner back then. The guy still didn't punch enough, but he could just step forward and walk guys down and be so much bigger than them. That's the difference. Now you're fighting guys your own size and even smaller to this day, and who are skilled and you don't win. Anyway, as I stated, enjoy the spoils as the victor. Team KOVALEV, Team McGirt, Team Main Events, Team Kathy Duva. This victory is about more than Saturday night, however. And I hope the future people, meaning the present, who cover the sport, I hope you truly grasp what happened. Everybody's protecting an O. This win was well deserved. This is someone who came back from adversity, not in a round of a fight, not within a fight, but being stopped and having the world over pretty much say, well, you probably get stopped faster the second time around. And even if you don't, you're going to get stopped. Somebody made a fortune, and you can point to the Las Vegas line that had, the opening line had, and we talked about this in our last video, the last one, the Keith Thurman video, Keith Thurman Jr. video. If you watch that, somewhere toward the end, we talked about the opening line had KOVALEV as the favorite, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? And then I figured Vegas didn't have enough action as far as betting, so they did that. And whoever jumped on that early line to sway it, to swing it, so that Alvarez was the favorite, man, you probably partying right now and popping bottles and whatever else people who gamble do. But so But but Vegas is partying too, because I'm sure, well, it's a win for all. A small group, and then Vegas. So Sergey was in there with the cruiserweight for the second straight fight. I mean, ELEIDER is huge at the weight, especially on fight night. And one thing about this fight, when you think about it, because people really don't think or remember, they don't recall things. You can argue Sergey's last fight, Sergey probably suffered his first loss last time out. He was robbed in the first fight against Andre Ward. Let's just be real for once. The guy was robbed. And he got hit in his dick numerous times in the second fight. And I still don't know what Weeks was doing in that fight. I just don't know what. I don't understand him waving it as he did. It just never sat right with me. And I'm sorry for saying a bad word, in case my sister, who no longer listens, I think she gave me 1 or 2 videos and said, I don't understand any of this. But if there anybody out there who is offended by me saying the word dick and meaning a penis, I apologize. Especially to the ladies out there. Sorry for the listeners, especially the women who might have heard that. But hey, all the men listening to this have one. So, including Sergey. He's made babies, so I know he has one. And then Max Kellerman. I thought I had enough of it at HBO, and I thought, okay, it's over. And then he teams up with Andre Ward, and he starts sucking and drooling all over Andre's D word. It's like, come on, Max, really. And speaking of Kellerman, let me go a little bit further. He referred to Kovalev as a bully, but he's not a bully. A bully doesn't come back and lick the guy who knocked him out in his last fight. That's not a bully. Mike Tyson is what you call a bully. Adrian Broner, the weight bully, was a bully. Who they come back and beat? You know what I mean? Like, no. Sergey, Sergey is a boxer. Sergey boxed, and that's how he won. He disarmed ELEIDER Alvarez, just like he did Bernard Hopkins. Sergey was patient. He boxed, very methodical. He was going around the guard of Alvarez instead of getting his shots blocked all the time with the high guard. He was conserving his energy and boxing him. Just not trying to throw every punch with the worst intentions. He was using his jab, which is a top 10 jab in boxing still, if not top 5. And he was going to the body. You want to go to my body? People want to start going to my body, I'm going to give them some of the same medicine back. And that's what he did. So when Sergey said dude got lucky in his first fight with the knockout, I mean, do you believe him now? I mean, Sergey was up by 5 points in the first fight and on cruise control. And he was up 59-54 on all the cards, I believe, or at least 2 of them. And so maybe he has a point. Maybe ELEIDER got lucky. And when he went on cruise control, this is what happened. He got caught. Maybe he has a point. Maybe we got to give him the benefit of the doubt now. He beat Andre Ward the first time while hardly training. I mean, just wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. And I believe he fell in love with his power. And when in actuality, if you look at the guy, he's a fantastic boxer with more power than the average guy in his weight class. He's a boxer. In this fight, he went back to basics, and he listened to James Buddy McGirt, who was resurrected from the dead with this win, and now it's on. And I'm not going to go all overboard with praise for Buddy McGirt. However, he was definitely a factor last night, for sure. Buddy is a great stopgap coach. You know, when you want to change the pace for like 3 or 4 or 5 fights. He did it with Arturo Gatti. He did it with Antonio Tarver. And he did it again on Saturday night. So, gotta give him credit for what he did, for sure. He was a factor. I got a question from Dr. Babatunde Stokes, and his question was, do we get a trilogy now? And my answer, Dr. Stokes, is no. At least not yet. So where then does Kovalev go from here? For me, at his advanced age, I'm saying forget the Alvarez trilogy for now. Go for the glory. Go for the most money and the biggest matchups, which means the other champions. And it kind of depends on where he fights, or I should say what network. You got to take a look at his contract. I don't know. I don't know where. Like, we're hearing about signings left and right. Golovkin with DAZN, and DAZN just signed somebody else. Why is it slipping my mind? But so I don't know what they're going to do there at main events, but they got options now, baby. I'm telling you. So if he stays with ESPN and ESPN Plus, then there are matchups with Beterbiev or Beterbiev. I think Dmitry Bivol is DAZN, right? And DAZN, ESPN Plus. I think they've done business before, but now it's like, okay, can we show it on both networks? I mean, because these are two. One is the $5 pay-in, and the other one is $9 or $10. So it's like, if a DAZN guy fought an ESPN / ESPN Plus guy, how's it going to work? Let's just say it's Plus versus DAZN. Like, you got to negotiate the rights. Can it be shown on both? So these are questions, man. Unfortunately, landscape has us tied up like that. Has our hands tied, so it's very difficult to be undisputed. Unified, yes. Undisputed, it's going to be tough. I'm not sure what Vozdik, Alexander Vozdik. I'm not sure if he's a free agent or if he's. I'm not sure. He fought on, what was that, Showtime, when he fought and nearly killed Adonis Stevenson, or Stevenson Adonis. So I'm not sure about that. Is he a free agent? Then you have Marcus Brown. He's a somewhat of a premier guy, and so is Badu Jack, who might still want to be a factor. So the question lies with what Main Events is going to do with Sergey. But he's a live dog versus anybody right now. Redemption, baby. I mean, this is a great story for the young boxers also. Tony Harrison's victory. Before that, the last time you saw Tony Harrison, he was getting stopped twice by that Chad Johnson lookalike guy. Looked just like Chad Johnson. What's his name with the big head? Gosh, what is his name? And then he got stopped by Jared Hurd. So, and then he goes and beats the undefeated Jermell Charlo. So it's like, man, Tony Harrison is a hot commodity right now. And then, Kovalev, you gotta love it. It's just, this is what boxing is about. Willie Nelson, that's his name. You got to know when to hold. So he didn't just lose, he lost by knockout to both guys. And then you figure Jermell, the way he's all of a sudden punching, you figure, okay, he's going to get Tony out of there. And what happens? This is great for boxing. And who knows? Jermell, who arguably might have another loss on his record now, he gets a chance to come back. So it's just, you got a matchup next week with Erickson Lubin fighting Ishe Smith. Where does the Lubin story end? But the point is, it's a story. It's just not like a guy undefeated and just beating everybody and that's it. No. You face adversity, you dust yourself off, and you come back. You win. So, good work. Sergey beat the odds. What's next for Alvarez? Well, he's going to have to beat someone now to earn himself another shot, which is what boxing used to be about. At least that's the assumption. This is just me saying what he should have to do. Go out there and beat a name. Fight a guy like Sully B. He already beat Jean Pascal. That was a majority decision. Let's see. Just fight someone of note. Win that fight. Get yourself like a title eliminator. And then go from there. Bivol, maybe, after that. Marcus Brown. We'll see. Man, the co-feature, Teofimo Lopez, is on a tear. And he's not taking prisoners. And guess what? He doesn't care if you like those post-knockout celebrations of his or not. Doesn't care. And guess what else? There's got to be a bad guy, right? So why not him? Teofimo wants Lomachenko. Or at least claims he does. I believe him. I don't think he's quite there yet. Late last year, he landed a right hand on Mason Menard on Heisman Trophy Saturday that probably should have been knockout of the year. I know some people liked the heavyweight one with What's happening for my memory? Derek Chisora got stopped. But, I mean, take your pick, but, man, when you hit a guy like that and he just lands face first. Anyway, and then he followed that knockout of the year candidate from 2018 on Saturday night. Excuse me. That double left hook was something of legend for a 21-year-old. But for as devastating as he's looked through 12 fights, the kid hasn't fought anybody. I mean, the top 3 or 4 opponents he's fought have records that look sexy on paper, but they've lost to everyone of note convincingly. So let's stop the Lomachenko talk right now. Just for right now. If it was my way, and this is once again what made boxing what it was, I'd love to see a showdown later this year or early next year with Devin Haney. That's what boxing is all about. 2 undefeated prospects laying it on the line. You know, I think when Yuriorkis Gambo, no. Juan Manuel Lopez fought Daniel Ponce de Leon. That was 2 guys undefeated, if I'm not mistaken, and they fought. And guess what? Both of them got big fights. The winner and the loser. Juanma stopped my man early, but De Leon early, but the winner and the loser went on to have big fights. I'm trying to think of another one, and I shouldn't have to think, but that's where boxing has taken us. Some years ago, West Coast was or Midwest or Southwest, Mikey Garcia. He was undefeated, and he came to Atlantic City to fight Matt Remillard. And so Matt was like something like 22-0 or something like that. And Mikey Garcia was like 22, 23-0, something like that. But that's what you want. And then they stopped doing it. And it's like, bring it back. Let these guys know if you lose your O, it's not the end of your career. But there was one guy that makes you think that, who kind of messed boxing up a little bit. He's still undefeated. He's older now. He's kind of semi-retired. I'm not going to say any names. But these guys idolize these guys, and it's like, nah, be yourself. But 2 undefeated prospects landing on the line. I would love a Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez fight. The winner then advances to like a mid to late 2020 showdown with the champion. Now you got your shot. Then the winner of that maybe fights Lomachenko, who will be like 33, 34 by then, and a bit more beatable. And then you'll have a belt on top of that. Of course, it won't play out that way, but it's going to be interesting. Teofimo Lopez is on a faster track than Devin Haney right now and has his sights set. Maybe he fights and gets another belt before we talk Loma. Then it kind of gives him leverage to make a fight with Lomachenko, because now he has a belt. You know what I mean? So it makes the precocious fighters claim a bit more justified. Man, that double left hook, boy. Gosh. So where does TEOFIMO go from here? Well, how about Ricky Burns? How about Yuriorkis Gamboa? How about the winner between Raimundo Beltran and Hiroki Okada? I mean, the kid's 21. What's the rush? I mean, you see, boxing should be about these young prospects testing themselves against other young prospects. If not, then you give them levels of toughness and have them face tougher tests as they progress, like a journeyman followed by a gatekeeper, and then maybe the prospect versus prospect thing. But this will go a different route, I'm sure. There are like 3 20 to 21-year-olds out there. You got Ryan Garcia, who I think they're moving nicely. They gave him a test. They weren't 100 convinced, so they said, well, let's slow down a little bit. Devin Haney and TEOFIMO. And listen, if you want to move Lopez to a test, I mean, you got guys out there like Jose Pedraza and Robert Easter Jr. out there, pending network and promoters and such, working to make the deals. Of course, if he fights Pedraza and gets Pedraza out, then you're not going to hear, I mean, you're not going to stop hearing this kid talk. But then Pedraza's tricky, so you take that risk. And, your kid might lose his O, but once again, that's not always a bad thing, especially with a kid as entertaining as Lopez. He's must-see TV. Robert Easter Jr. is out there. So, one guy who isn't out there is Richard COMMEY. Now, COMMEY's at the point where he's ready for Lomachenko. And he made a statement on Saturday night versus Isa Chiniev. He threw a left hook that grazed Chiniev in the first round and shortened up his right hand and put Isa on stringy legs. I mean, then that was, he survived that. And in the second round, though, he dropped him with a left hook, and he kind of feinted and pivoted and threw the left hook like as it was a lead hook. And then he went after Isa and kind of wild and landed a left uppercut eventually to end it against the overmatched Chiniev. Where do we go from here next? Well, for COMMEY, the answer is an April 12th showdown with the man at lightweight, Vasily Lomachenko. Now, riddle me this. When are you the man, but not the man? Well, ironically, some may consider COMMEY the man at 135 because he won the IBF belt vacated by Mikey Garcia. And as senseless as that sounds, there are some that feel that to be true. Lomachenko has the WBA belt he won from Jorge Linares and in a thriller. Boy. And he picked up the WBO belt from beating the aforementioned Jose Pedraza last time out. So he really should have 3 belts, but for some reason the WBC Take a guess why. Stripped Linares before he fought Lomachenko. So this fight with COMMEY could have been to be undisputed. But once again, the WBC threw a wrench into the mix. And so it'll be a unification to be the unified champion. Mikey Garcia will vacate we assume, the other belt he had, which was that WBC. And I'm sure they'll have two guys from another network fight for it. And then where do you go from there? So I don't know, but anyway, just I hope you young guys out there, these young guys are doing videos for, what do you call it, clickbait, and just other stuff. So we don't have, all the historians are old or they're dying off. All the newspaper guys are old or dying off, but they were newspaper guys. So it's like, if they don't transfer to the internet, and they can simply do stories as they did and then send them to editors on websites. But it's an adjustment for the old guys. And then you have the young guys who, they're not historians, and they're chasing the stories that these people hook them on by way of, like Vince McMahon, like WWF or WWE. And it's kind of like, man. And then you have people like me who a little younger than the old guys, older than the young guys, but not as interested as doing the things with the travel and the daily videos and the writing that I used to be. So it's important to understand what happened over the weekend when you talk about redemption, and to carry the torch as the future journalists and videographers and whatever else, because it's guys are getting old, man. They're leaving the world, and we need people to understand the history of boxing, not just going back to Lennox Lewis or Ray Leonard, but you need to know who Sam Langford is and how great he was, and Joe Gans and people of that nature, because it's important to keep their work relevant so that you can educate as you get my age and as you get older, to educate those behind you. So I don't know where we're headed as far as covering the sports. I just don't know where we're headed, because I know where the youngsters are headed, but I don't know where it's going to drive them. Because you got to know. Some of them they never heard of Rocky Marciano until they talked about someone breaking his record, which it wasn't his record. He's a heavyweight. That's where it counts. Jack Johnson, Henry Armstrong, James Jeffries, as I mentioned, Sam Langford, Willie Pep, Harry Greb, Jack Dempsey, who was Mike Tyson, who was the Caucasian Mike Tyson before Tyson was. That hook to the body and that uppercut that Tyson threw. He's a historian. He watches a lot of tape. He got that from Jack Dempsey. Bob Fitzsimmons, Gentleman Jerry Cooney, Jimmy Wild, Wilfredo Gomez, Archie Moore. I mean, just the list goes on. I don't know. Emil Griffith, Benny Leonard, Salvador Sanchez. They should know who these guys are, and they don't. And I'm not saying I know everything about these guys, but man, you got to keep it going. And it's on you. And there's no connectivity between the old men and the young men in the sport, and then the tweeners like me. Even though I'm getting up there in age, I guess I'll be considered old by some of you. Nevertheless, I have an idea, and it's going to take some work. It might help. It's not going to solve the issue between the different age groups, but it kind of will in a certain way. It may lead to something else. I have an idea. I want to try it. It's just going to take some work, and I got to get the right guys. Anyway, talk long enough. Got to get ready for work Monday morning. So next video I'll post after this one is Gervonta Davis and Hugo Ruiz media call. I'll post that on Monday or Tuesday. Catch you on the next one.